PhotoQuest Adventures workshop in northern Mongolia, and one of the things that we have is the Ranger Quadra. This is brand new. It just came out before we left, and we're going to talk a little bit about why this is so cool and what it's going to allow us to do that you maybe can't do a TTL flash. First off, you can see it's basically a pack and head system. The pack itself only weighs about 6.5 pounds. I can actually carry this in my photo backpack, and I'm all for that. Lightweight is always better. It's 400 watt-seconds, which is a fair bit of power. Some of the advantages of this is, in addition to having 400 watt-seconds, the recycle time is very fast. It actually allows you to change your recycle time, so you can set it for a fast recycle and it's about a ½ second, or you can put on, there's a little snail icon up here. That'll slow it down a little bit, but you get more flashes out of the pack. It's asymmetrical power distribution, so what that means is it's not going to be even in how the power is distributed amongst the two heads, which can actually be an advantage when you're trying to use two heads at the same time on the same pack. Maybe one's going to be an accent light and the other is going to be shot through a big softbox like this. This is an Octabank that we carried with us out here. Another really cool thing about it is you can see this little thing. I know most of you guys are familiar with this. This is a Skyport, and built into the Ranger is, in this Quadra, is another receiver for this. So when I attach this to the hot shoe of my camera, it's going to allow me to trigger this thing a long ways away. It just frees you up. There's no wires between your pack and your camera. This is a radio slave. In essence, it doesn't have to see the pack to communicate to it. You can have it behind a tree or wherever, but you don't need line of sight in order for this to work. You can actually control the output of your flash pack via this transmitter. So if I put one of these way off in the distance and I don't want to walk back and forth and I don't have an assistant with me, I can sit there and look at my LCD and go, you know what, that flash looks a little too hot. You can change the power output. You can just plus, minus, and scroll right up and down. This area, this lodge that we're at, only has a generator, and as we all know, we get 2 hours of generator recharging time a day, and then after that, there's no more power. Well, one of the coolest things and a real advantage, I think, to this pack, in addition to being portable enough that we can get it out here in the middle of nowhere, is the fact that a completely dead battery can be recharged in only an hour and a half. So this is like the perfect example for that, because we know we're going to go through both of these batteries today shooting the locals, and we're going to be able to recharge at least one and part of another because we can do it in an hour and a half. So huge advantage on that. The other little icons up here, there's a power icon, a modeling light. You can change the power output. It may be hard to see in this light, but you basically are hitting your arrows going up and down, or you're using your Skyport to change your output from your camera, which is what I normally do. It's very easy and efficient. Yeah, and so there you have it. So the other question I know you guys are all asking is, why are we carrying this out here? We don't get it. Why don't we just use our smaller TTL flashes? Here's the reasons why. TTL flash is a great thing for what it does, but where this will offer advantages is, one, we can use really big light sources like Octabanks and even larger sources. One of the cool things are, even though these heads are smaller than the standard Ranger heads, it still allows you to attach them to the larger light boxes that Elechrome makes via an adapter ring. Why does that relate to us? Well, we all remember that how soft a light is on your subject is directly related to how large the light source is relative to your subject. So if I can shoot one of these Ranger Quadras through a really large light bank, you're going to get this amazing quality of light. The other thing that I really love about the Elechrome boxes are they have a silver interior. That gives you a little bit more of a specular edge to your light. I think it's noticeable if you use a silver interior box versus, say, a white one. You're going to see a different quality of light. So, one, we can use this with larger light sources. Two, it's very fast recycling. As you start to use smaller flashes and you're popping them a bunch, one, boom, 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 they just can't take it. The batteries overheat. It's very hard on the flashes, especially at full power. Not with this. It's less than a second if you have the fast recycle set on this. So that can be important when you're working with the subject. You're getting some expressions, but they only happen like that. And if you're sitting there waiting for your flash to recycle, you miss the shot. There's a ton of power. These are hands down are more powerful than your standard small little flash. That's going to play out in midday light when you're trying to underexpose your background light and you're trying to kind of create that separation, so you have this big octabank hitting your subject on kind of maybe a 1.5 stop underexposed background. I would think about adding maybe a tungsten gel to my light, changing my white balance in my camera to incandescent, so all the daylight is going to go this deep blue, especially if you underexpose it about 1.5 stops. So power, recycle time, wireless technology, we can control the output from a long ways away with this, and we're going to create some stunning portraits in Mongolia. I would be willing to bet that rarely, if ever, do they see this sort of setup out here because we're so far remote. Normally, I wouldn't even consider carrying a larger studio pack for a trip like this where we're on the road and we're driving for hours just to get to these remote locations. On PhotoQuest Adventures, we're almost always going to have one of these on our international trips just because it's fun to simulate this larger soft light source.